Welcome to the podcast where relationships, confidence, and determination all converge into an amazing, heartfelt experience. This is Speaking from the Heart.
Welcome back to episode number 23 of Speaking from the Heart. Today, we're going to be talking about another service that Your Speaking Voice LLC provides to its clients, which is one of my favorites that I also like to talk about quite often and I engage with the most: life coaching. Now, the definition of life coaching can vary from one person to another, so I will give great caution to those that are listening that might have a preconceived notion of what life coaching traditionally means. But in the framework of what we provide, it's not just about what the destination is that you're trying to achieve, but it's about setting goals for yourself, which is really what I try to work quite often with when it comes to the people that come through my business. Because goal setting not only used in corporations to help solve problems that go from one extreme to another, but it also helps others to realize that the goals that they're trying to achieve or trying to set for themselves can be achievable if we break them down into some bite-sized pieces. And that's really helping to get to what the ultimate problem is that might be facing many of us going through life. It could be a number of different things. It could be divorce. It could be a change of habits, maybe after getting a medical diagnosis, which for myself, being autistic, I had to learn to adjust in a variety of different ways since I learned about that. But it's also getting another perspective in the ways in which we were trying to filter through all the different noise that comes from all different angles, trying to get that clear-cut approach so that we can actually talk one-on-one with someone that helps to understand how it means to be engaged in this world, to not just be able to achieve the things that we necessarily need to achieve. Because what we often see when it comes to going through these sort of services might be feelings such as inhibitions, feeling guilty about doing something that you haven't done, or even feeling frustrated, maybe trying to move from an old type of thought that we had about ourselves, but processing it to get to a new one. But the biggest thing that I often learn and I often hear from other people that they don't have in their life as a result of just trying to go through this service is having that level of accountability with someone that's willing to understand and fulfill what is truly needed in their lives in order to help them get to that next adventure. I know that for many of us, having that next adventure means we have to understand a little bit about who we are inside of ourselves. So that helps me to also work with you to know what that is all about. So let's walk through a little bit about what you could experience as a result of all this. Because as a coach, one of the biggest pet peeves that I have that other people sometimes forget to do is about learning what that person is that's coming through the door in the first place. In other words, why are you actually seeking coaching? It often disturbs me that people take on coaching assignments because they think that they can solve or change someone from whatever perspective that they're providing, me being the coach, to somebody that is just trying to understand this and grapple with it. And it's always been my perception that we often live in the universe that we provide for ourselves and which has helped us get to this point in the first place. If I don't understand what you have gone through, I might be repeating some of those past travesties, some of those past issues that you had, but also, and more the undertone of it all, what you have accomplished already so that we don't repeat those same accomplishments again because you have been through that process. One of my first steps that I always look at is who is coming into the door. And that's even before I even start with a client. I want to get to know them a little bit more, which is why I actually spend probably the most time with understanding someone, getting started with an initial consultation of at least an hour. Because I feel that by understanding what that problem is, by also then sharing what my 4-step process is with my clients, I can be able to understand a little bit more so that I know not only how much work it will take, but to be fairly and equitable with someone that is going through this process and understanding what they need to do in order to create some of that best value that they're seeking. So I always look at getting to know someone much better, especially as we start with doing life coaching. Another thing that I try to go through and try to understand a little bit more is not just what that person is, but also what is the root. So that's really step 2 of my process. Getting to know a little bit more of what actually triggered it. This can be very challenging in itself because you often have to dig deeper than maybe the surface and maybe even going through some of the things that you often don't talk about with a stranger going down the street. Maybe you don't even talk about that with your friends or your family for that matter. And I know that, and I can feel that energy level often come through with a client, especially if they feel that it is a concern, it is something that they don't want coming out, and they also don't want it to be something that traumatizes them for the rest of their life. But more importantly, they don't want that to be something that holds them back because they know that they're able to accomplish the things that they're setting themselves out to do in their lives. So we often have to go into the roots of figuring out what is actually causing that problem in the first place. That's step 2. Step 3 then is setting up what I enjoy more than anything else is an exercise of writing SMART goals. SMART goals encompasses 5 parts: being specific, measurable, achievable, is it relevant, and then finally, how much time or time bound are you going to be relating to that goal? But we do a little bit more, which I will talk about if you ever want to be coached by me so that you have a little bit more of an understanding of how that process goes. But writing SMART goals, just as much as what corporations do, allow us to focus and hone in even more on one of the things that you're looking to be held accountable for so that you can continue to make progress. And we could talk about those sort of things even during sessions for that matter. Now, it's always a rinse and repeat when it comes to doing these sort of goal setting exercises because things change. So, step 4, the final step of my process, is actually revisiting those goals on a periodic basis, oftentimes quarterly, no more than 6 months out from when we set the goals initially, so that we can learn a little bit more about what you have done, what are some ways in which you are continuing to make progress, and what are some of the things that we can say and celebrate? Yes, you have done it. Let's take this off the list. Because the last thing I would ever want any client to go through with me is to have this repetitious cycle of always feeling that they are never going to be able to achieve the success that they are seeking out from a life coaching relationship. Now, with life coaching, it is so much more than just setting goals. It sometimes means breaking a mindset or a stereotype that we often have, especially when we go together through some of the things that might have been traumatic in your life. And I have to caution even some people that are trained professionally in life coaching, which I have been by many different individuals throughout my life, that life coaching creates not only the boundaries in which we have that relationship with someone, but you start to set out a lot more of what those expectations are, what you can and cannot do as a coach in itself. As we are working through these sort of goals, understanding a little bit more of how these things are achieved and how they're able to be accounted for as it relates to what you're achieving makes a big difference in how much level of engagement that you are going to stay in as it relates to those goals that you set. Now, I have to be truthful because I always have people asking me this all the time. Josh, isn't this really an expensive endeavor to actually do something like this, especially if it's just low key? And I have to admit to you that sometimes it might be. But the real question that you should be asking yourself is, how valuable is it that you want to solve or overcome those situations that you have in your life, that you need that assistance, that short-term help so that you can get to that next level? It isn't about money, and I will talk about this subject in a future episode as it relates to whether coaching is really a luxury or not, which I find to be quite perplexing why some people think it is. But in today's topic, I want you to consider the fact that life coaching can be something in which it changes who you are deep down inside your core, and you really want to move forward as a result of all the past inhibitions, guilts, and other sort of frustrations that have been continuously plaguing you in the first place. Being able to understand and learn so much more about what you are as a person, and even as you're able to create these new foundations for your new life that you're trying to lead as a result of going through life coaching, can help empower you. And that's one thing that I really focus on, that oftentimes some of my clients come in and they think that they're ready for it, but then they realize that they're not. Because it's really about a self-examination of putting yourself onto a pedestal and saying for the first time in your life that you're really important. As you, being my listeners, having gone through now over 22 episodes in which I've talked about this subject, either with guests or even on my monologue episodes, you know how important it is to focus on just you, to help yourself understand that you have value that you can contribute to this world. If you are putting something off in your life and you are afraid of taking that next step, consider this. You can have freedom with anything that you decide to do if you're willing to just change that thought that you continuously have or that default reaction. Case in point, look at me, your podcast host, small business owners just starting a business earlier this year, and realizing that this is really the most important subject for myself to continuously remind over and over again, which is why even I have connections with people that I talk to consistently about my doubts, my insecurities, my fears, because having that conversation with someone that I can trust in a one-on-one relationship will allow me to find the focus that I need to have in achieving what is truly important. And I think that's often what we forget about when it comes to doing this sort of exercise. It isn't just about what you are going to be doing. It's about what you are going to help others achieve as a result of your actions. And I think that's what's really at the depth of all this. If you are somebody that is one of my listeners that is struggling with this, and you've been holding back all this time and trying to have a conversation with yourself of why it's so important to move forward, let me run you through a couple of things that I think might be helpful. My first question to you is this: what would it take to change yourself in a way that allows you to maybe see opportunities that you have never seen before? If you're able to say that you can do that and you're willing to embrace those opportunities, here's my second question then. Are you going to be open to new ideas, new perspectives, and maybe even be challenged on your existing perceptions and challenges that you have in your life so that you can lead yourself to a life of freedom and security for that matter? That's my second question. And if you're able to say yes to that and you're able to move through that fear and that insecurity so that you can have that open conversation, let's ask one more question. Question number 3. What would it be like if you were able to envision yourself at the end of this journey of self-discovery and change? Seeing yourself be more happy and more heartfelt because you are on a path of wanting to change all those things that were once holding you back, whether that was from the fear that you had in standing up for yourself at work, or even working on your divorce that you've been putting off for all this time, and knowing that you have what it takes to truly feel comfortable in new shoes. If you're able to say, yes, that I want to embrace that sort of change in my life with each of those 3 questions, you might be just wanting to try that out. Now, if you are on the fence yet, even asking yourself those 3 questions, consider this. What would it be like if you just had that first step in the conversation of just willing to explore that? And I've done that with a number of people, and some people who are ready for it have taken on that challenge in their lives, while others have said they're not ready for it yet. The real question is, if you are willing to at least take step 1, what's holding you back from step 2 and 3? Is it the time? Is it what you have to put yourself through to get to that next level? Is it the money or the investment that you're going to put into yourself? Or is it that you're afraid of what the results would look like if you were on the other side? I think in life, it's about finding ways in which we can accomplish not only the goals that we have, the things that we set out to achieve, but it's about what we are willing to go the distance to in order to be able to reach that destination that we've always been putting off since we were a kid, or even young adult, or even now, or even as we're older, and wanting to get to where we want to be. We can enjoy that next adventure that we have in our lives if we're just willing to embrace that accountability. And that's something that I'm willing to offer through life coaching. Because let's face it, sometimes paddling that boat all by ourselves might be easy enough, but what would it be like if we had somebody else to relieve us, especially if we're on that long distance ride all across that river, that ocean? We would like to have somebody that's right next to us to be able to enjoy that ability to feel comforted and to feel that we are accomplishing something. You can keep paddling all by yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you really want to embrace a freedom-filled life that allows you to speak from the heart and to accomplish goals that you never thought you could ever accomplish, maybe it might be time to reach out and start your life coaching journey. Because, hey, I'm here and I want to help you. Thanks for listening to episode number 23 of Speaking from the Heart, and I look forward to hearing from your heart very soon.
Thanks for listening. For more information about our podcast and future shows, search for Speaking from the Heart to subscribe and be notified wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit us at www.yourspeakingvoice.biz for more information about potential services that can help you create the best version of yourself. See you next time.